Welcome to Passion and Profit. If you're a small business owner or solo entrepreneur, this episode is for you. It would not only help you achieve your business goals, but it will also help you enjoy the process. Let's get started.
So let's just get our costs out of it if we can, take that money, take that cost, and reinvest it into new, fresh inventory that can actually make us some money.
Passion and Profit with your host, Delmith Morales, the podcast for makers and manufacturers. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Delmith. This podcast is created by Inventora, the all-in-one inventory system for makers and manufacturers. Today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and it is using your inventory to create more profit and keep more cash. I have a special guest. I'm really excited to talk with her. It's Ciara Stockland. Ciara is an author and speaker. She has owned and operated business since her early teens, so she has a lot of experience. As a serial entrepreneur, her vast experience in both retail and wholesale industries led her to launch the first to market wholesale subscription box for boutique retailers. And most recently, she launched the Inventory Genius, a coaching program for inventory-based business owners. So I think this is perfect for everyone that is listening to the podcast. Ciara, thank you so much for being with us today. I'll leave you the time to say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself, and just to start with this interesting topic.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. As you mentioned, I have owned and operated businesses for a long time. I'm a third generation entrepreneur. So small business just came naturally, seemed like the natural course of action. In 2006, I opened my first retail store, and that was the first experience I had with inventory. So opened that first retail store. It was a beautiful boutique in downtown Fargo, and then built that, grew that actually into a franchise business. So we had 13 locations around the country. I also had a warehouse, and we wholesaled, and I also helped inventory-based business owners liquidate overstock inventory. So we had multiple facets to the retail and the wholesale business. Ran that for about a decade. And after I sold the brand to one of my franchisees, like you mentioned, I started a subscription box for boutique retailers where I would bring makers and wholesalers together with retailers around the country. So I built that, grew that, and sold it in about 18 months. And through that subscription box, really started to get to know retailers, particularly around the United States and Canada. And then went on to have lots of clients in Europe and Australia as well. And everyone was really dealing with the same issue, which was how much inventory should we have? I have so many sales, the cash keeps coming in, but where is all the money? And how much inventory should I stock? When should I mark it down? So I was hearing these same questions over and over. And so that is why I launched the Inventory Genius coaching program to help inventory-based business owners understand how their inventory was directly tied to profitability and cash flow. And that's what I do every day now. And I really enjoy working with inventory-based business owners.
That's exciting. I know that every time we listen to the word inventory, if you're a small business owner, it's like, oh, seriously, again,
yes, such a pain. Yes.
So I think that having more people like you that help you understand that it's not like such a hard task, and to understand it and to create the habit. If you know, Inventora does the same thing. We created a system. We try to make this task easier for everyone, to not make them feel overwhelmed with all the things. Because one of those things that you mentioned is like, how much inventory should I have to be profitable, to be able to fulfill all my orders in time? So all of those things are always in every small business owner head. So I think what are you creating, it's just perfect. And I'm very excited to hear more about your experience.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing that an inventory-based business owner needs to understand if they want to become more profitable and understand what's happening with all the money as it flows in and out is that inventory is really your biggest asset. Most likely, if you're an inventory-based business owner, your inventory is the biggest asset you have. Now, If you own property, the building that you're in, or maybe you own vehicles or printing machines, dye machines, there might be some other big assets in your business. But generally speaking, inventory is going to be our biggest asset, which means we really need to think about our inventory like cash. It's literally like cash on hangers, cash in boxes. And so when we start to think about it as cash, as dollar bills, if you would, we start to count it and we start to manage it and we start to watch what's going on with it. So I always say, if you had, money hidden all over your house in drawers and boxes under the mattress, you probably wouldn't do that, right? Or you'd know where it was at and you know exactly how much you had. The same thing with our inventory. A lot of times we have an inventory-based business. Maybe we're a retailer, a wholesaler, we're a manufacturer, and we produce product. People cancel orders. We overbuy, we overproduce. And then this inventory sits in boxes and we're not treating it like the cash that it actually is. And that can really suffocate our cash flow. So thinking about inventory like our biggest asset and like cash and treating it that way, treating it with that value and learning to count and understand it will make such a big difference in your inventory-based business.
I really like that perspective because I'm also a small business owner. And in the first year in business, I was like, I need to have this room of my house full of inventory because I'm going to sell everything. And the weeks went by and I had all of my inventory there. And everyone was saying that is cash that you have on hold. Like you need to start looking on ways of moving that product. So do you also teach them how to move that product, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I think that first step of realizing this is a big asset. This is my biggest asset, most likely. I need to treat it like cash. That's the first step. So just to be aware. And then to look at the inventory systems you have. So a lot of times if I get on a consult call with someone and they're thinking about working with me, or they're really feeling a lot of pain when it comes to cash flow, and they jump on a call, I'll ask them, okay, so what are your average sales, over the last several months? And they always know that number, I make about this amount or that amount. And then I'll say, how much inventory do you own right now? And I rarely get a good answer. Most of the time, do you mean like this? Or I'm not quite sure, or I don't enter my costs. So the first thing we need to do is to make sure that when you receive your inventory, that the cost of that inventory is always put into the point of sale system along with the selling price. So not only am I going to sell this shirt for $52, I bought this shirt for $13 or $14. That cost needs to be entered along with quantity and any other attributes so that at any given time, I know the value of inventory that I own. So when you know your sales goal, and the value of inventory you own, you can then start to project how much inventory you should buy or how much you should slow down in the inventory purchasing. Building an open to buy or a buying plan, you have to have all the pieces. And so if we aren't tracking what our inventory costs us when we made those purchases, it's going to be very difficult to ever get a good grasp on how much inventory we should buy or when we should mark down.
And I think something really great to do is audits. So you can create that habit of knowing what products do you have in hand, and do you recommend to have it like money-wise value, also the inventory that you have in stock, like always once you do an audit or something like that, just put the numbers in how much money is that inventory value right now, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so in your, with your business, I like to say there's two different systems. So we have our inventory management system, which that's going to be your point of sale. So like a Shopify or, however you exchange money for dollar bills, how you sell it, that's the inventory system. But then you also need a cash management system. So that's going to be like your QuickBooks, your bookkeeping, your accounting. So we have two different ways to look at our inventory. On the point of sale side of things, we're going to look at exactly, we'll pull up and say, I have 4 blue shirts, or I have 14 dresses in stock, or I have, 32 pairs of shoes in stock. And then over on the accounting side of things, you're going to be able to see exactly the value of that inventory on your balance sheet. So it's really important to have both components. Don't just manage your inventory-based business through your point of sale. You have to have the accounting side up to date as well.
Yes, I think Inventora does that amazingly. We try to give you like reports and all of that in order for you to not just to know what you have in your shelves, but
Yeah.
also your materials and the products that you like, the value of it. So you can, it helps you see how much do you actually really need to buy and how
Yes.
much like your budget should be according to the sales and your inventory. So I think, like you said, not only focus on your website and seeing how everything is going there, but also having the accounting side that it's not the
Yes.
most fun thing to have. But honestly, those two together are going to make your business more profitable and be able to scale.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I thought it would be nice to just break down financials and what you'd look at and how that plays into inventory and profit. So on the accounting side, you have your profit and loss statement, which is really like a rear view mirror. It's just showing you the sales that came in and what you spent to run your business. So what you spent on payroll, what you spent on marketing, and then what you made. So a P&L is just looking in the rear view mirror, what already happened in the business. And then your balance sheet shows you a picture of the health of your business. So at the top of a balance sheet, you're going to have your assets, which would be cash in your bank accounts, savings accounts, how much inventory you own, and then liabilities, which would be what you owe everyone else. So if you purchase that inventory on terms, or if you have credit card debt, or if you have an SBA or small business loan, all of that's going to show on the balance sheet. And so when you enter your inventory properly, like you mentioned, into the system, and then you have that inventory value and you put it into your books, you'll be able to see on the balance sheet, like, what is the health of my business? How much asset do I have in inventory? And then over on the profit and loss statement, every month when you reconcile, here's my sales and here's the cost of good, or what it cost me to make those sales, those two things will really give you a full picture of what's happening with the cash flow. So as people make purchases, where does that money all go? It seems to disappear so quickly. Well, if we don't have our inventory properly accounted for, then we don't understand what's happening to that money because we have to keep replacing inventory. And so what does that do?
And how often do you recommend doing this?
Yeah, so I would definitely reconcile once a month, at least. If you have a bookkeeper or an accountant, they can keep it up to date weekly or daily for you. But if you're doing your own books, at least once a month, do an audit, just like you said. Take a look, go through, count your inventory, make sure what's in your system is accurate with what's actually in the warehouse or in the bins or on the floor. Make those adjustments and then go over into your accounting system and make sure to adjust that out properly. And then also, once a month, again, if you're doing it on your own or maybe having a bookkeeper or accountant, they should look at your point of sale system and see, what did we do in sales? What was the cost of those sales? And then adjust that over in the accounting system. That way, both things are always matching. So you can look at your point of sale. Here's what I have in inventory. Look at my accounting system. Here's what I have in inventory. Here's what I sold. Here's what I made. Here's what the true margin was on the product.
Perfect. I think maybe it sounds like overwhelming, but honestly, once you start doing it, I think it's piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you're feeling overwhelmed, like, oh, goodness sakes, I don't like financials, I don't like numbers, that, like you said, that's just too overwhelming. I would say start by making sure you're entering your costs. We just start there. So if you haven't entered the cost of your inventory in the past, let's start doing that going forward. You can go back and audit if you know some of the costs and put those in from previous purchases, but at least start going forward today. And then the second simple thing you can do is exactly what you said. Do an audit of your inventory. Go through and count it. If you've never done that before, you might be very surprised to see that you don't have as much as you thought, or you might have way more than you thought you had, and we don't need to be buying as much. So those would be two simple ways to start.
And how or when do you recommend us to have a accountant or someone making that for us?
Yeah, so I think, most of us as inventory-based business owners, we don't naturally love the numbers, accounting, bookkeeping. And so if you can afford to have the help, then let someone that's really good at it, and that's what they do, let them do it. So hire someone right away if you can. If you can't, then, there's software and there's different things, a lot of information you can find online, classes you can take to do bookkeeping on your own until you feel like you can afford it. But if you have a bookkeeper and accountant, that's great because they live in the numbers. That's what they do. It's easy for them. and then they can give you accurate financials. And as far as a timeline of like what you want to be, how often you want to be looking, if you have an accountant, I would have them give you financials every month for the previous month. So don't let time go by. I was working with a client once and she had an accountant for years. And she said, they send me financials, but I've never looked at them. I just put them in a file. We don't want to do that. So have them send you their financials, learn what you're looking for, and then take a look and review them monthly so you can get ahead of problems and get ahead of cash flow issues or debt or things like that before it gets too bad.
Yeah, I think that's a very good advice. Not only just rely on someone and make them do their job, but also as owners, we need to understand also how our business is doing
Yes.
overall, not just on sales, right?
Yes.
And how, when do you recommend us to start doing this for our business?
Right away. Like if you're not tracking, you need to start tracking today. And, you don't have to learn all the things and you don't have to do all the things today. But like I said, pick a couple things that you could start with today. Clean up your inventory. Make sure that the costs are associated, that your counts are accurate. Take a look at old inventory. That's another simple thing we can do. Like how aged is our inventory? What do we need to put on sale and just get rid of it? And then either hire a bookkeeper or accountant, or if you already have one, start asking them questions every month when they send you the financials. Tell me what you're seeing. Is there anything I should be changing? Just really get in tune with understanding the foundation of your business and start right now.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice ever. Also, something that it's coming to my mind, and I think that's nothing good, but what if we still have a lot of inventory there and it's not selling and it's not moving? When should we say, okay, this is not working? Let's just move forward and leave this business here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always hard, right? Because we get so emotionally attached. If we make our inventory for a manufacturer or maker, we're attached. Those are our designs. That was the product that we put love and thought into. If we have a retail store, we put a lot of thought into buying and we thought everybody would love that dress and nobody bought the dress. And it's very easy for us to get emotionally attached. But again, going back to it's cash on hangers and cash in boxes, and it does you no good on a hanger or in a box. So if we're seeing that inventory has sat 90 days, 120 days, 100 days, let's look at marking it down and moving it out. And inventory doesn't age well. So the longer it sits on a shelf, the less value there is. The more times we touch it, the more expensive it is, right? So if you unpack a shirt, okay, there's a cost to that. If you move it around the store, there's a cost to that. If you mark it down once and mark it down, there's a cost every time we touch our inventory. And so we want to touch it as few times as possible to give us the best possible margin. And so learn to become unattached to your inventory, look at it as cash. And when you mark it down, be aggressive with that. Not 10% and then I'll wait and then I'll do 20. So now people have seen it multiple times for multiple weeks and months on end. That isn't going to help it sell any better. So let's just get our costs out of it if we can. Take that money, take that cost and reinvest it into new, fresh inventory that can actually make us some money.
I think that's something super helpful. Maybe we don't know what to do. Probably some people are in that stage of they don't know what to do right now. So I think that's been really helpful. And it, like you said at the end, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be doing anything else, but just take that money and invest it in something that you already know that probably you have bestsellers, right? Your products that are bestsellers, just focus on that or change it to another revenue stream of your business. So I think that's something really wise to do.
Yeah. Reinvest those dollars in quick turning cash.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add just to end this conversation?
I think just remembering that you're the boss of your business and you need to understand your business better than anyone else. And that means you have to understand the numbers. It doesn't mean that you have to be a bookkeeper or that you have to love that side of your business, but your responsibility is to make sure that your business is profitable. And you can only do that if you know what's happening with the inventory at a numbers level. So getting really clear on what you need to learn and what you need help with, and then going after that and being responsible for your success and your failure as a business owner, starting with what the inventory does for profitability and cash.
Love that. I think we start our businesses without knowing the importance of inventory management. So I think if you're just starting, I hope you listen to this episode because it's very helpful for us, the makers, the owners, the business owners, to know the importance not only of marketing or the product or the photo shoots or something like that, but also the inventory and accounting part of our business. Because if they don't match, if they don't go together, your business will not work, right? So,
Yeah.
Ciara, please let the people know how they can find you in social media, how can they reach you, and all of those details.
Yes. Yeah. So you can find me on my website, ciarastockland.com. And then I would love to invite everyone to grab my book, Inventory Genius. It's a really easy, about a 2-hour read. You can get it on Amazon in either print or an Audible or Kindle version.
Thank you so much. So everyone, there you have my conversation with Ciara. Go check out Ciara and her business in the link of the show notes. I hope you find this episode useful and helpful for your business. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a follow, and if you like the episode, just share it with your friends. And thank you everyone for being here. Until next time. And if you're interested to learn more about Inventora to help manage your raw materials and product inventory, visit Inventora.com.